I want you to put on your GM hat. Should the Las Vegas Raiders trade for Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields? And every single person that comes across this video, I want you to give me an answer. Give me a yes, or I want you to give me a no. And if you're wondering, Mitch, why are we talking about this? There's a brand new report around the silver and black and around the Bears quarterback, and you're going to see it right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And before we get into all of the latest rumors around Justin Fields, today's show is sponsored by 8 Sleep. And if you don't know what 8 Sleep is, then you're sleeping on these guys, because I have been able to get a better night's sleep thanks to our sponsor here. And if you're like me and you need a better night's sleep, go to 8sleep.com/chatsports. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, there is a report right now from Tony Pauline around the Raiders to explore trading for Bears quarterback Justin Fields. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the quotes from Pauline, and then I will give you my 2 cents on everything that he had to say. So let's roll through these bad boys right now. According to Tony Pauline on the Raiders trading for Justin Fields, there's another team that I am told has genuine interest in acquiring Fields and will explore trading for him. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Yet, sources tell me Tom Telesco, named as the team's general manager on January 23rd, wants a big name at the quarterback position. The fact that the organization signed former Bears offensive coordinator Luke Getsy will make the transition easier for Fields. Throwing to the all-pro receiver Davante Adams will surely be appealing to Fields, and having Jakobi Meyers only makes the Raiders even more appealing. The Raiders have 9 draft picks at their disposal as ammunition to trade for Fields, including a pick in each of the first 6 rounds, starting with the 13th selection of the draft, and 3 picks in the 7th round. Now, I am going to get into everything around what Pauline had to say, and I'll give you my honest feedback, because that's how I started the show. Reports would come out, I would give you my honest feedback. But here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of trade rumors around the Raiders, whether it's around going up and trying to get Jaden Daniels, whether it's in the NFL draft. With the NFL scouting combine just a few weeks away from the 29th to the 5th, I'll tell you this, lots and lots of trade rumors around the silver and black. So to make sure that you never miss anything, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because if the Raiders do trade for Fields, we'll be live here, and I don't want you to miss it. So coming up is going to be my reaction to all 4 of those Justin Fields quotes from Tony Pauline. I'm going to give you my honest gut reaction to every single one of them, and I'm going to call some BS, and I'm going to say that there's some truth to a little bit of what he had to say. But, man, I'll tell you what, anytime we get a sponsor, new sponsor, old sponsor, but a sponsor that I legitimately could stare at all of you in the eyes and say, this is an awesome sponsor, and if you're like me, Alex and I sleep at totally different temperatures, and if you're like, man, my significant other, she likes it warm, I like it cold, then I need you to listen up right now. So today's sponsor is 8 Sleep, and they're absolutely changing the game here. The high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues, 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover, slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. I love 8 Sleep because it has totally stopped my night sweats. I like to snuggle with my dog, Chuck, but man, homie is like a heater. Thanks to 8 Sleep, I don't wake up sweating and get a better night's sleep. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics on average. Pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. So go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Start the new year right and invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep pod cover. All right, y'all, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to roll through these quotes one more time here on Justin Fields from Tony Pauline, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm thinking. So there's another team that I'm told, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. When I saw this, I do anticipate that the Raiders could be a team that are going to show interest in Fields. And if you were to ask me, Mitch, what are your top 5 Fields trade destinations? These are my top 5, and I'll keep it a buck with y'all. Earlier this offseason, I said that Justin Fields, when the Raiders were looking to potentially add a different OC, I thought that Fields absolutely could have been one of the top picks. Then the Raiders go out and they bring in Luke Getsy, and after they did that, I was like, Man, I don't understand the fit necessarily. Like, if I'm Fields, the number one team that I would put my money on him playing for would be the Atlanta Falcons. The other team that I'd put my money on would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I have some sources in New England, and I've talked about it probably about 3 weeks ago on this show, that the Patriots could be another team to at least keep in mind. But if the Raiders are in a situation where they know that they're either not going to be able to trade up to get a top quarterback, I've also been told that Las Vegas isn't crazy about the idea of bringing in Russell Wilson. Could then they potentially look at Fields if Kirk Cousins leaves or goes back to, we'll say, Minnesota or goes somewhere else? What about Baker Mayfield if he goes back to Tampa Bay? The Raiders understand they cannot go back to Aiden O'Connell as the starter. Insert then maybe a guy like Justin Fields. Let's go to the second quote here again from Pauline that says that Telesco, who's the manager, is looking for a big-name QB and also brings up the idea of, again, that Luke Getsy, who was with the Chicago Bears the past 2 seasons with Justin Fields, could that make the transition a little bit easier for Justin? And I'll tell you this, and I know that Telesco wants a big-name quarterback, but that shouldn't surprise anybody, considering the fact that you go through and you look at what Telesco has had when he has been working with teams. I mean, every team that he's been on has had a big-name quarterback, like Justin Herbert, big-name QB, Peyton Manning, big-name QB, Andrew Luck, big-name QB. Like, he understands that in order to win in the NFL, you need somebody that is dominant at that position. But I'll also say this. I have a weird feeling of pairing Getsy and Fields together because it did not work well the past 2 seasons. And when you've seen the recent reports that have come out about Getsy, he really hasn't spoke very highly of Fields. And I feel like Fields hasn't spoke very highly of Luke Getsy, so putting this marriage back together is a little bit of a peculiar one to me. I will admit, though, you go back to 3 months ago when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels, I made a show, and I was told by multiple Raiders players that they like Justin Fields. Then when you also add on top of that the idea that Champ Kelly drafted Justin Fields, you add Luke Getsy, maybe that's the pairing, and then even more going in depth with some of the hirings that the Raiders have had, offensive line coach Craig, running back coach Carnell Williams, with what they're trying to do with like a power running game, it does fit Justin Fields, and it does fit with what Antonio Pierce is trying to do. Third quote here from Pauline. He goes into depth about, Davante Adams and Jakobi Meyers, and, let's be real here. I know that Fields deserves some criticism, and I know that there's some Raider fans out there that are going to criticize probably me even making this video, because I'll also say Tony Pauline's not the most reliable source out there because he throws a lot of things at the wall, sees what sticks. But my job here as the host of the Raiders Report is to be able to give you my 2 cents and ultimately tell you what I think about all of these quotes circulating around Justin Fields. So I know this. Justin Fields has never, and I mean never, played on an offense as talented as this Raiders one is going to be. I do think one of the reasons why Fields struggled so much is because Getsy had a very vanilla offense. On top of that, anytime you're learning a new system, it's a tough thing to handle. And when your top guy, DJ Moore, is a hell of a receiver, but there's not a lot besides all of that. And when you think about what Justin Fields is and what he represents to an offense, and it does, in a way, kind of fit with what the Raiders are trying to do, because if you miss out on a guy like Jaden Daniels, or you don't think you're going to be able to get Jaden, could you potentially look at Justin Fields? And this would be the most talented offense that Fields would play on, and the upside's there. He's only 24, 25 years old. I mean, talk about the Raiders' offensive line here, for example, right? I could see the Raiders that understand, all right, man, we have 3 potential starters that we're going to be losing in Andre James, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor. From what I understand, they're going to kick Dylan Parham in at center, which still means you still need 3 open spots. If you don't want to give up a lot of draft capital, because then you want to be able to use some of your draft capital, / you don't want to pay a quarterback all this money in free agency, that allows you then to rebuild your offensive line for Fields, who's going to be making $6 million this year. And if you want to give him that 5th-year option, he's going to be somewhere around $22 million the following year, which is still a really good value for a quarterback in the National Football League. Then you look at the wide receivers here. So if the offensive line can play as good as what they did last year for the Silver and Black, and I know you lost Carmen Brasillo and there's going to be some new pieces, but then again, you're going to have Davante Adams, Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker. That's 3 extremely talented receivers. I don't see Hunter Renfrow returning, which is nothing new to a lot of people that watch this show. But then again, you got Davante, you got Jakobi, you got Trey Tucker, and then probably the best tight end that Fields will have ever played with in the NFL. Yes, I am saying that Michael Mayer is a better tight end than Cole Kmet, and Luke Getsy is going to do everything in his power to get Mayer more involved. So you add Mayer, you add Davante, Jakobi, Trey Tucker. That is 4 pieces that are extremely talented, and to me, if you are going to go out and sign or trade for a QB like Justin Fields, then I do think that you should open up the idea of making sure that you can try to bring back a running back like Josh Jacobs, because Zamir White is more of just a north and south guy. He's not going to do anything too special. I know he had a great final stretch of games over his final 4, but like you had Josh Jacobs back, power running game with Justin Fields, on top of all the talented playmakers that I just said, with James Craig, who's going to be a more power blocking scheme, which fits with what the Raiders are trying to do from top to bottom. The more and more I'm making this video, the more and more I'm starting to convince myself that, yeah, Justin Fields could potentially be the Raiders' starting quarterback next season. So then the final thing about the Pauline quote is this. The Raiders have 9 draft picks and a lot of draft capital. If you're a brand new head coach, if you're a brand new general manager, and if your assistant general manager has those ties with Justin Fields, like if all you have to do is potentially give up a player and a mid-round draft pick to go out and get a quarterback, then that's also going to allow you to build a lot around that quarterback that, let's face it, if you're going to go get Fields, you better be able to build around him, because I don't want to hear the excuse, oh, he doesn't have a lot of talent around him anymore, because with the Raiders, he's going to have a lot of talent around him. So, like, if you were to ask me, Mitch, what's the Raiders' plan A? The plan A for the Raiders is and always has been Jaden Daniels, right? So if you're like, all right, we want Jaden Daniels, but there's no way that we're going to be able to trade up into the top 3. And the one thing that I have continually said, if the Raiders try to trade up into the top 3, it's going to be from February 29th to March 5th, the NFL Scouting Combine, when a lot of people are together in the same room and there's a lot of conversation going on. If the Raiders are unable to make a trade in that time span, well, then I think that you got to start looking at free agency. Then you got to start looking at, well, what are the next steps for us to be able to build this team? Because what you don't want is you to go into the draft, your plan A is Jaden Daniels, then you totally miss out on that, and then you totally miss out on Justin Fields. So to me, plan A, Jaden Daniels, but if the Raiders don't want to give up a ton of draft capital because they hear it's according to reports, going to be a monumental, or it's like the biggest draft trade of all time to get up to number 1, well, then maybe you potentially look at Justin Fields as an option. So coming up next here on the show is more smoke around Fields, because there was an article released today by ESPN and by Field Yates that illustrates what they potentially think a trade looks like for the Raiders and Justin Fields. I'll tell you what that is in just a minute, and I'll give you my reaction to it. But if you're wondering, Mitch, what's your programming schedule for the entire week? I'm going to be live on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Then I'm going to be live on Friday, same time, Monday, same time, Tuesday, same time on top of that. I don't have Chugs. He's getting married this week, so if you guys want to show him a little bit of love, hit him up. But on top of that, I'm going to have Trizzy Trace. We're going to be balling out. We're going to be having a good time. So set your reminders and join our live shows. Lots and lots of content to hit over the next 48 to 72 hours. So here is the ESPN trade idea, and for anybody out there that's sleeping on Justin Fields, then you definitely need to go check out 8 Sleep, because Fields to me is a hell of an athlete. He is a hell of an athlete. And what scares me about the whole Getsy thing is Fields to me is a Ferrari that you have a guy that's supposed to be driving a Honda operating that vehicle. We'll see if that Ferrari can actually ever get put into drive, but I'm hoping that it does end up happening. But either way, here's the ESPN trade idea. The Raiders, they receive Justin Fields. The Chicago Bears, they get your 3rd-round pick, number 77 overall, and then they're also going to get Hunter Renfrow. So my question to you is, who wins this trade, the Raiders or the Bears? I know that Chicago's biggest need outside a quarterback is the wide receiver position, and by the Raiders trading away Renfrow, they do eat a little bit more money, where I believe that he's going to be a post-June 1st cut candidate, and if that ends up happening, the Raiders end up saving about $11.8 million. If he is traded, the Raiders only end up saving $5 million, but still, if you're able to get your franchise quarterback, and you got to trade Renfrow and only a 3rd-round pick, to me, this is a clear win for the Las Vegas Raiders. I know what I think about Fields. To me, I want the Raiders to go out and get a top 3 quarterback. I want them to get Justin Fields. Then your next options are, do you get a guy like Russell Wilson maybe on the vet minimum, though people I talk to tell me that the Raiders aren't really sold on Russell Wilson. Do you want Kirk Cousins at $40 million? Like, I'd rather have Justin Fields at $6 million this year, $22 million next year, than paying Kirk Cousins $40 million. And the other reason why I think it's intriguing of this entire option is, remember the whole Cliff Kingsbury thing, where there's smoke, there's fire. They were trying to get Cliff on a 2-year deal. What happens if you look at Justin Fields, and what if that was part of the 2-year plan? He's got connections throughout the Raiders organization. Luke Getsy, Champ Kelly, Telesco appears to like him. Raiders players seem to like him. So in conclusion, this is what I'm going to say. I will still admit Fields to the Raiders would surprise me, because the idea of pairing Getsy and Fields together again isn't really a smart option to me, because Getsy hasn't spoke very highly of Fields. Fields, when you listen to some interviews, I don't know if he really has spoke very highly of Getsy either. However, though, if you're talking about building an overall talented roster, and if Fields ends up hitting, man, you got the support of the players, you got the support of your front office, you have the support of everybody around you, you might be able to build a very special team with Justin Fields as your quarterback. So if you guys made it this far in the video, shout out to all of y'all. Hopefully you answered the pinned comment, which again is, should the Las Vegas Raiders trade for Bears quarterback Justin Fields?